Hey everybody, welcome to Gannon University Small Business as Usual podcast. This is a special edition. This is Thriving Through the Year's End, a small business celebration. I'm joined today by Maggie Horn, Director of our center, and Shane Foster, Senior Business Consultant.
Thanks for having us. Excited to do this again.
Yes, definitely. So let's celebrate small businesses throughout the year. Where do we start?
Coming up with a big push into the fourth quarter. So
Right.
I think that's a big strategy, talking about year-end strategies. Maggie, what is, next week, this is going to be airing very soon. We're coming into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, into Christmas. Maggie, what are a few things you think like retailers in the small business sector should be focusing on right now?
Well, we got Shop Small Saturday in between those big ones that, you just mentioned as well. Really needing to take advantage of the information you're going to get from your customers, right? Because you're going to start seeing some of the behaviors during this very intense purchasing time that are going to help you to make some of the strategies that's going to set pace for next year. So be prepared for the holiday season, but be thinking about what has happened this year. What are some of the trends? What are some of the cycles? What are the things that you felt like you needed to do better, or what really worked and how can you improve upon them? So really look to strategize. This is the perfect time to regroup, to think about what has happened over the last 12 months. How can I build upon that for the 12 months coming, and paying attention to this very heavily purchasing time of year, and pay attention to your market. And that will help drive your goals and your strategies for next year for growth.
Yeah.
You were talking about purchasing. How important is financials, reviewing those for end of year?
Oh, big time. Now is a perfect time to really start to project out for next year, start, doing your inventory. One of the things I'm really stressing with all of my clients is really making sure we are setting goals, like achievable goals that we can kind of work back from. So, really, how can you as a small business owner take yourself out of the business, set those goals, and kind of delegate? And, there's different ways to go about that. For most small businesses, what you want to do is, a business is very simple. You have a product that solves a problem to a customer. So you just kind of break down those three kind of segments of your business, and I think good things can happen. So you said kind of realistic goals from that. So what does that really look like? One of the things, well, if you get a lot of your customers from online, maybe one of the goals is we're going to focus on X channel and get this much traction, produce this much content per week. Another one you want to look at is what's called your average order value. And your average order value is basically whatever the average checkout price is. So one of the best ways for you to increase the profitability of your business is simply increase that. Sell to already people who are buying. So you do that through upsells, cross sells. You think about, you go to buy a new car. It's the first thing that they sell you, gap insurance or some kind of extended warranty. So those are little things you should start planning out for next year, and can pay huge dividends before you really know it.
You were talking about upselling. Let's tie inventory into that for the fourth quarter. Maggie, what do they need to know about fourth quarter and projecting ahead?
Yeah, it's always difficult in a retail environment you have to predict, right? And then we're not always on point to predict, which is why we need to look at trends and, all those kinds of things. So to upsell, you need to be tracking what your customers are buying now. And what other complementary products or other products that are similar that they would be attracted to. So you need to have some strategies in place to do that. As Shane mentioned about the insurance, right? You get your base insurance, but then you get something else on top of it, and so make sure that your product line is appropriate for that. You have the ability to upsell because you have complementary products to your core products. So that's a very important goal and strategy to look at, and have a focused sales strategy. I was just teaching that this morning about enable the salespeople with the resources and tools to be able to upsell and to focus and understand what customers are buying. It's all about the analytics, and this is definitely the time to do it.
Yeah.
On the digital, we still struggle with that in our region with not as many companies taking advantage of that to truly be able to bring in that revenue stream that you're going to need.
Mhm.
And so really being able to, is Facebook, it might not be, it could be Instagram, it could be LinkedIn, you might be a B2B, but really looking at the opportunity to tell more than what they're buying. Hey, you bought this, but think about
Yeah.
this will really enhance what you're doing. So you make the suggestions, and the only way you do that is communication. And the way you do that is by being in front of them. Email marketing, being on social, use your website for what it's there for, which is information. Make sure that those products, in addition to your core products, are right there so that it's an easy opportunity for somebody to look at that to upsell, to be able to add that to their purchase.
Yeah.
I think
You
at the end of the year, one of the things you really need to audit in your business is in terms of like your technology stack.
Yes.
What are you using? What can you use? There's so many great tools out there now that if used properly can just scale your business galore. So one of the things you want to look at is like your website. Websites are not just they build it, set it, forget it. They need to constantly be updated, optimized. There's ways for you to what's called, put a heat map on there, see where consumers are going, scrolling down to, and kind of just taking that data and making those improvements are going to pay big. Every business really needs to have some kind of form of customer relationship management and CRM. There's so many where it's just so basic now. There's no reason for you not to have one of these. And these things just save you so much time.
Yeah.
And the thing you got to understand is like, these are assets inside your business. One of the things, first thing, somebody who wants to buy a business, they're not looking to buy a job. They're looking for something that is turnkey, has systems in place, and that's what a CRM system can do for you.
All right, so we're talking about websites, you talked about email marketing and social. Is there anything else that small businesses should be looking at for marketing, communication, engagement?
Well, I think it's related to all that. The website is where you should be driving everyone, because I completely agree with Shane. It is not just, okay, we built it, now it's up there, now we're selling everywhere else, or we're putting the information out. That's absolutely not the case. Nobody wants to read a 5-paragraph post about your product. It should just be, look what we have to offer you. Click, and it takes you back to your website.
Yes.
Your website is your online retail store, right? It is that virtual store. So that's where you hold all that information. The other tools, the social media, the email, those are to drive the traffic back to the website where they will be buying.
Yeah.
And so the upselling, take a look at this and take them over there, or that first time sale, whatever it is. And the inventory, if you're gonna have a lot of stuff left, maybe we've made a boo-boo on what we bought that we thought was gonna really go at the holiday season. This is how you get rid of it.
Yeah.
This is how you drive over there. This is when you can put the discount on. This is when you can entice people, because we are also looking at a kind of a rough economy right now. People are looking for deals. So take a look at your inventory. Where are you right now? You should be considering and planning. You want it out by the end of the year, because that's tax. I know we're going to talk about that in a minute too, tax planning and, looking at those things. You really want to make sure you have as little inventory left by the end of the year, and get rid of it.
Yeah.
And you do that by using all of those online tools and having it ready to roll. So there's no better way to get your customer engaged with you than driving them to where you want them to be and engaging with them there and giving them what they're seeking. Don't put them just on the landing page. Take them right to that product. Put that link out there. Here, click, buy.
So you mentioned the economy. Can we shift a little bit and let's talk about some success stories of small businesses that have met the challenge in economic?
I think we're what I would really love to focus on with this segment is really like maybe I'll give my example of a success story without getting into too much detail, where it's something that I think a lot of people don't think about. And one of the things I think a lot of people, they don't really, they think like, okay, if I'm going to be self-employed or I'm going to have a business, it has to be this huge scale operation. But I would love for you to really take a look into the mirror and decide, what skill do I have that can solve problems, or I can teach somebody this skill. So I was recently working with a client. She offers basically e-commerce coaching, and that's what she does. So she teaches just like general people how you can kind of design a product and sell it. And it is such a high on demand kind of, really enticing, skill set a lot of people want to learn. And basically she built a business around that skill in basically consulting and coaching. And I think that is a huge success story. So I would really encourage you, if you're listening to this today and you're kind of, not sure what kind of business you want to start, maybe the first thing you really start to ask is like, what am I really good at? What problem can I solve? And can I teach that problem, or teach somebody how to solve that problem? Or maybe actually just start a business solving that kind of problem for a business.
That's a great point.
And the other way you can look at it, because I completely agree with that, but the other way, you've identified that there's a problem, look and see what's happening out there. What skill do I have, or do I have the skill to be able to take advantage of that opportunity?
Yes.
So it's not only taking, inventory of yourself and your capabilities and what you bring to the table, but also paying attention to the market. Because there could be something you're not even thinking about, but you have the skills that are able to solve that problem or address that need. So it goes both ways, but you have to have the ability to solve the need. Just because you have a really cool product doesn't mean it's going to be accepted by the market, because the need might not be there. It has to line up. But I completely agree. You got to look at yourself, and what you bring to the table and how that matches the consumer that you're trying to reach.
Yeah, and what's nice about that is, yes, it's not, a super scalable business in terms of, when you're offered consulting, it's basically the dancing bear kind of scenario where, you only get paid when the bear is kind of dancing and entertaining you. And unfortunately, that's the business model, but it's still a pretty solid business for you to kind of at least get your foot in the door, maybe make some extra money in the same exact time. And then maybe you start to look at maybe a different scalable business with inside that as you learn more about the industry. Another success story I'm going to talk about is really understanding your market and really niching down. I think and there's still a huge segment of the market where I feel like they're not keeping pace in terms of understanding what an actual successful business looks like. And what do I mean by that? I think pre-internet era, people had to start businesses based on the community that they lived in. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe you're a local marketing company and you're helping Joe the plumber, you're helping Katie with her retail store. I think the market, in terms of what the internet has provided to us, it really allows you to niche down and become a subject matter expert. And that allows you to really just charge way more money, because people are going to understand like, hey, yeah, Joe worked with 10 different other financial advisors. I'm a financial advisor. I have no doubt he knows how to come into my business, talk my language, and immediately help me. So I think what you really need to take away from what I'm trying to say is understand that the internet has opened up the world to you, and it is no longer being a general to everybody. It's really niching down and being a subject matter expert. The more you can niche down and the more specific problem you can solve, you're going to have way more success than if you try solving every single problem for everybody, because it's just impossible.
Right. So you're opening up the world for everybody. That means you're also letting in the competitors. So you have to be very specific about what you're offering and what your brand looks like.
You have to be able to understand who your competitors are. And you have, with the internet, the ability to know everything they're doing. They're going to know everything you're doing as well. Years ago, you had to read the paper, you had to read their 10K at the end of the year to know what the competitor you're up against is going to be doing or what they're planning. Now everything is out there. So there's no excuse for you to not know what your competitors are doing, and pay attention and look at how they're attracting customers that should be your customers as well.
Mhm.
Right? You know, so what's working for them, when you see a post that just goes through the roof, you know, and you're seeing that is getting a lot of attention and reactions and people are engaging, do something similar for yourself.
Mhm.
Everything, it's not gonna be from scratch. There are so many resources out there and so many ways to be able to attract the consumers you want by understanding the entire market. And that's how you understand it, is through the competition.
Right.
Right? I just real quick, it's just the internet, right? And the
Mhm.
social media and how that interplays. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the play back and forth with McDonald's and Burger King.
Oh, I
and
love
how
that.
Wendy's is
Yeah.
in, right? They're pure competitors.
Yeah.
But they know as soon as, and it was McDonald's that started it, as soon as McDonald's was kind of calling out, you know, some of the other, Burger King in particular, Burger went, okay, we can either just ignore that
Mhm.
and take it offensively, or we can play. Because
Mhm.
they got a lot of attention with that. And
Yeah.
our business didn't slow down. That wasn't it. It was just awareness. And it just is that, these are the kinds of things, an example of paying attention to your competition and engaging in what's creating communication and
Mhm.
attention, and duplicate that or engage in it so that you are part of that vision as well, that attention that your consumers are involved in.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some action items for end of year. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I guess the first one is in terms of everybody loves talking about marketing. If I was we've never lived in a time where there's so much competition for your attention. What do I mean by that is you look at Facebook's vying for your attention, YouTube's vying for your attention, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, I mean, you name it. All of these channels want users on a daily active.
Mhm.
So what does that mean? Well, this is a great time for you to really advertise your business for free, basically. I mean, pre-internet, the only way you could really advertise your business was through the traditional paid market, which cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So now you have the chance of basically going viral for a little monetary effort. Again, it's going to take a lot of effort, you know, of your time and learning these algorithms. But if I was going to go all in on anything right now, and it's super obvious because the paintings on the writings on the wall, it's short form content.
Mhm.
YouTube, I would focus, you know, personally, I would focus on YouTube right now and creating just short videos that match keywords, like match search terms. So if I was best Pittsburgh plumber, I would make a short video on that, because if you want to understand, the number one search engine in the world is Google. The number two search engine in the world is YouTube. So people are going there to search for these kind of problems and solutions. And if you can match exactly your content, your description in a short form video, your YouTube's going to reward you right now. So I
Yeah.
think short form is.
But don't just
huge.
leave it there on YouTube. This is content creating that you can
Yeah.
use on your social media.
Yeah.
You can post YouTube on your website as well. So everything is kind of interconnected, and don't just leave it and be done.
Good.
And I would add to that, I totally agree with that. You need to do some how-to videos, because even though somebody is not going to duplicate what you did,
Mhm.
you've gained their attention, and then they realize, yeah, I don't want to do it. You're a plumber, right?
Yeah.
How do you change whatever it is?
The ceiling fan.
Ceiling
Yeah.
fan.
Well, I
You
have 3 ceiling fans sitting in my back bedroom, and I watch like 4 YouTube
So
videos. I'm like,
electrician.
this ain't happening. Like, I'm just I'll work a little extra.
Right? And so because some, there are a lot of people that think, well, if I put something out there and tell them how to do it, then I'm gonna lose business. And it's like, no. You may lose a portion, but they would have found out anyway. They would have figured out how to do it. So you're not really losing them in the first place.
Mhm.
What you're doing is you're showing your expertise. They're looking to you as an expert. And when they get to the next more complicated issue with their electricity, they're gonna call you because you put it out there. You are sharing with them your capabilities, your skills. And, they appreciate that. And then they're seeing and recognizing your expertise. So how-to videos are the second highest videos that are looked at. Because that's what people, want to do. And from that, more business is actually driven, because when they see how complicated that is, most of the people aren't gonna do it. That's when they pick the phone up and they call and have you do it, because like you said, you still have ceiling fans that you aren't
For like
hitting up.
4 years. Don't judge me.
Right.
4 years, they're still sitting there, and like every time I walk in that back bedroom, I see them. I'm like, I need to make a phone
Yeah, I
call.
did this myself. I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah. It's trust me, I'm one all in. I bought all the tools, but I think another kind of insight that individuals really need to consider, again, circling back, finance.
Yeah.
Yes.
So definitely have a good bookkeeping system set up. There are businesses out there that can do your books, because if you don't know your numbers, you're kind of, it's like a captain out at sea not being able to read a compass. You don't know where you're going.
Right.
And one of the things you can do is really set some strong financial goals, and benchmark your business. So look at last year's numbers, and there's tons of data out there. The SBDC can help you do this. Your accountant could probably help you do this. And basically, how do you match up within the industry? Because that's going to teach us things we need to work on. What do I mean by that? We have a restaurant, average industry in the restaurant, your food cost should be, anywhere from 20 to 35%. If you're at 50%, this is a pizza pie, and you're taking that away, that's less money in your pocket. So that can kind of teach you, like, okay, there's a problem going on here. How do I fix it? Maybe you're overplating, maybe you're not charging enough, maybe you're just not doing a good job with inventory. So I think that it's kind of like running a blood test as a doctor. Once you get that blood panel back and you see what's off, you can start to then kind of fix your business.
Well, I think that goes back to competition too, because if you don't know what the industry averages are financially and why they are doing, or you're perceiving they're doing so much better than you, how are they affording to add that other piece of equipment, and what do they do? You need to look at that. And so that's the financial side of it, is looking at what are you at least in line with the industry average. And if you're above, you got to look at it as you just mentioned, Shane. But if you're below, this is a competitive advantage for you. So you can play on that. You can really make sure that you hold that so that you're able to continue to be competitive.
Yeah.
And just to circle back onto the finance, and this is kind of a quick segue. This is for everybody out there. Look, you are doing nobody a favor by being, the cheapest out there. You're not doing yourself a favor by being the second highest price out there. Look, a lot of people don't have the self-confidence for whatever reason to charge the most. They think, oh, I'm not worth it, or, I'm ripping them off. Look, at the end of the day, if you charge more money, it allows you to provide a better service to your customer. And really, you're going to attract better customers. The way you two ladies, I guarantee if you had a Coach purse, the way you would treat that Coach purse versus a purse you got at like Walmart would be completely different. And it's the same exact thing with businesses. Like if you charge more, that person's there's perceived value that, wow, this individual must know what he's talking about. Why else would he be charging that much? So one of the things you got to really is look yourself in the mirror. Next year, increase your prices no matter what. You shouldn't be competing on prices, but so that's why you just need to charge more if you're really able to.
Yeah.
So
let's give some gifts.
Okay.
Gifts away on this podcast. Give some knowledge. So small business owners wear every hat, and your skill set is only so big. So what resources can we provide to say, hey, we were talking about a bookkeeper. That would be great for somebody that doesn't have a financial background. What other resources are there to support small business owners?
Well, we're here. I mean, and obviously we don't do everything that is kind of facetious, but we are one of a number of organizations that are available out in your neighborhood, in your community, online. There are now no barriers for you to be able to utilize and look at resources that are at your fingertips. So think, by knowing those areas that maybe you're struggling with, be honest with yourself. You're not going to be able to do everything. You need to, a lot of times as a solo entrepreneur, but it doesn't mean that you have to, and you should be recognizing where your needs are and be able to reach out and get those resources. So, and I'll go back to, this is not being facetious, That's why we're here. That's why the SBDC exists. We were created to be able to be that resource. Do we have all the answers? No, but what we do know is how to get those answers. And so we can refer you to an appropriate other organization or another resource that might be able to help you. When you know what it is that you're struggling with, you then can start identifying what is available to you. And you should always be looking to learn, or you absolutely have to understand what you need to plan to do to make sure that you're set up to continue to grow. Because if you're constantly having this bookkeeping issue, say you're, I don't know, a team of 5, right? But none of them do this bookkeeping, it's all on you. You need to be planning and setting a strategy on how you're either going to hire and have an accountant available to you, or how are you going to add to your team one of the most essential parts of running a business, which is understanding your financial position.
Yeah, I think one of the gifts of knowledge is, I wish, this was kind of taught like in elementary school. It's not, the question should not be, how do I solve this problem? It's who can solve this problem. What do I mean by that?
Point.
You need to understand, like, there are people out there who have thousands, 10, 20, 30,000 hours of expertise on a specific problem. Your job as a business owner is to be able to identify what the problem is and then go find out who can solve that problem. It's not, you got to understand, like, you can't solve every single problem.
Right.
So you need to go out and find that expert. And look, sometimes it's going to be a free consultant. Sometimes it's going to be a consultant that charges you $300 an hour. And if you can't afford that, then maybe you go find a friend who can kind of coach you along, go into Facebook groups and things like that. But your job needs to be identify, what is my problem, who can actually solve it, and great things are going to happen when you kind of marry those two together.
And invest in yourself and your team and your business. That's when we hear pushback on, well, that costs, some money. And I'm not being like saying that in a negative way at all. I get it. I know that, finances are important, but don't look at it in that way. You are investing in the knowledge and resources to help you continue to expand. So you can't not use a resource because it's going to cost you money. There are a lot of free resources like ours out there, but as Shane just mentioned, we may not be referring you to another free resource because your particular issue or problem or need really requires a specific HR specialist.
Right.
That is going to cost you, but it's an investment.
Yeah.
It is something that you need to, accept as the cost of doing business, is investing in the expertise and the resources that you need for your business to continue to be successful, to move into that final, growth or whatever it is that your goals are. Have the goals, and that's going to help you find the resources or identify those that you need, and then reach out to get in contact with them and connect with them.
Yeah.
So we're talking about thriving through year's end, but a part of thinking about the end of year, you're also looking and reflecting about what's coming up.
Yeah.
So let's think about first quarter for the upcoming year.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And how are you?
So, I guess we can address the elephant in the room, and I guarantee we all know where the big talk is. Anytime it's really coming down to AI and how does that impact small businesses now. AI is not the enemy. The AI is not necessarily going to replace you. It's a tool to help you become better at your job. Maybe that is you become more efficient, but it is a learning curve. And the faster you realize that, even if it does go away in 2 years or whatever, you can't hedge your bet on that. You need to learn this kind of skill set. So I'd really encourage you, really maybe spend the next 20 hours and that's it. Like, really, most people overthink things. You really only need about 20 hours to become competent in some kind of sector. Spend 20 hours watching YouTube videos, reading articles, and seeing how, like, maybe other people are using AI to improve their business. But if you want to just try to turn a blind eye to it, you're going to be left behind. Same people did the same exact thing with social media and the internet. Again, this is a common theme. How many people back in 1998 thought the internet wasn't going to be here? You know,
Yeah.
tons of them.
Yeah, and AI, this is how I think of it as well, is, I completely agree, it's not taking over everything, there's still human factors, right? And I absolutely encourage to seek the tools with this AI ability, or leveraging whatever you want to use, but keeping in mind that it's not perfect either. You still need to make sure that it is, the narrative is what you want it to be. A lot of people use that to make content, and Sandy does a lot of content because Sandy does our marketing. So using ChatGPT or using some kind of, resource to get the juices rolling, to get, some narrative going, you just don't cut and paste and that's it, because it's still not perfect. It's still not exactly as you as a human, or what your emotion you want attached to it. So although I completely agree that you need to embrace this, let's see what it brings you, let's see how you can use it. You can always keep in mind that it's not going to be that cut and paste. It's not going to take that over. And a human had to make AI, so there's human nature in there too. So it's not perfect. It will strive to be, but you need to embrace those tools and see where that goes. So should that be in your planning first quarter? Should you be looking at that? It's a slow time of year because it's winter, right? So it's a good time of year to really be able to leverage these kinds of tools and test them out. Because you're not in the high level of selling like we are right now, right in the retail. You're not going to go and try to learn AI and how to implement it. But in the first quarter is a really good time to start testing the water. How am I going to use AI? What am my new goal strategy for selling? How am I going to set the process up to really set the tone for the rest of the year? And you're going to be in tax season coming up, right? So that's another thing, do some planning then to make sure that you're prepared for that, because it comes up. We always are surprised. April 15th, it's like, what? You got to pay taxes? But like, if you do the proper planning at the end of the year, you're going to be able to utilize that first quarter to position yourself to take advantage of the more positive results as you move forward.
Yeah. Trends and predictions.
So
what do we do with that?
I think some of the trends, I think, it's crazy that we're still talking about this even right now. It's all about customer experience.
Yeah.
Whoever still can provide the best frictionless experience will always win.
Yes.
So you need to keep that in mind. If I have to click on 15 buttons, I'm buying car insurance right now. Let me tell you, I had a awful time last night trying to buy car insurance because it kept, and this is like a huge brand. I'm like, why is it this difficult just to get a shot, just to buy it? Yeah. It's like, you have to go back to this page and click on this button. And then finally, like the agent texted me on the way up today, and I said, I went to buy it. Please call me this afternoon.
We're talking about your call to action, right?
Yeah. I was like, went to buy it, won't let me buy it. Call me this afternoon, don't have time. Yeah. But it's really about your customer experience. Again, you need to become customer centric and just provide the best experience. And what does that look like? Even if it's just like being a plumber, picking up the phone, showing up on time, putting the little boots on so you're not making a mess, and just really providing that white glove service that it's going to get done right. That's a great experience.
Yeah.
And seamless through everything that you do. So, from being, if you are the restaurant, people are walking in to eat the food, but you still want them to be able to communicate and have a good experience on your website. And if they're ordering online, that should be the equivalent experience, that they feel that they are being paid attention to. It's easy to find what I need. I don't want to have to go through, if I don't want the burger without the tomatoes on it, you better let me say no tomatoes, don't make me go, because you'll get frustrated, right?
Right.
So, but it is absolutely customer experience. People pay more for products and services because of the experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be the quality. It doesn't even have to be, any of the factors that the product has. It is the experience that the customer has, with it. A lot of the high-end products out there are really not worth what you pay for them.
Yeah.
If you just are looking at what is the total cost of the pieces that that you have to put together, car parts, right? If it's a vehicle, no, that would never add up. Where they're talking about like a $5,000 profit, right?
Yeah.
I know that that's not true, but I'm just saying, it's the experience and what you feel, how customers feel. So you're absolutely right. And customer service has been an issue these last few years. And those companies that have been able to keep that brand love, we just talked about brand love today in class, you're going to be able to then, keep that customer, and that is going to be through the experience, and that's going to be the loyalty that you should always be looking for. Comes with relationship building, and that's what customer experience is going to give you.
And I think looking for another trend that is probably happening right now. And I think, look, none of us are economists. We can't predict. I mean, if I could predict what's going to go on the economy, I love you guys. I wouldn't be here. I'd be living on the beach playing the stock market. But Warren Buffett said it best, it's easy to do really good when it's easy to do great during great times. Unfortunately, the tide's going to be moving out most likely. And you're going to be able to find out who's kind of skinny dipping in the time of business, and people are being left exposed. And I think right now, just on a small level, from when I'm looking at different businesses, like especially businesses that are really driven on disposable income, they're not struggling, but it's down. We don't have the COVID money anymore. People have really burned through that reserve, so people are really becoming less likely to go out. So you now need to definitely refine your operations and make it way stronger. It needs to be super lean. You need to provide a ton of value, and really what's your bottom line? Because if not, that tide's going to come out and you're just going to be super exposed. And unfortunately, there's a reason why, 65% of it, 90, I don't know what the stat is. I think 65% of small businesses fail. There's a reason for that. And unfortunately, I hate to see that, but there's a good chance it's going to come, sooner rather than later.
And it's not always the internal, that reason why they fail, it's the external, but they need to keep an eye on that. And who's going to be successful to get through this is exactly what Shane said, are those companies that know that the disposable income and all of the monies that were out there flowing are no longer at that same level, and they've already strategized to bring in a different model, pivot what it is that they're actually providing, and so that they can weather that storm. It's not going to last forever. We do have a strong economy. You really do.
Yeah.
But there are the effects of the higher costs of living, the inflation, or not, inflation, but interest rates. That's what's really starting to get people, all up in arms. But people that have been around for a while, like me, these are not unusual interest rates. A lot of people had 15% mortgage interest rates, and they didn't bat an eye because that's what it was. We're just so used to 3% and the 5% and the 7%. It has to ebb and flow. That's what that's how the economy works. So understanding, paying attention to the trends that are happening in your industry, especially if it is something we don't really need, we just want, that is where you're going to need to strategize to tighten up, be a pivot, add something else of value, because even though we might not have as much disposable income, we still like to be entertained.
Yeah.
And we still want what we want. Just
Right.
let people get it differently. I mean, just think about Apple, okay? Not everybody, lots of people want an iPhone, but lots of people don't have the $1,100 or $1,200 or $1,500. I don't even know what the titanium thing is. Probably like 1,800 something, right? They don't have that money, but we can still get them. How? It is incorporated with the partnership that Apple has with all of the wireless providers. So think about how
That's a great strategy, to be honest with you. And there are so many companies out there, and you got to do your research. I will 100%, you got to do your research, and I'm not pitching one over the other. But a lot of these big buy now, pay now, later brands, companies out there are working with small businesses like mom and pop shops.
Mhm.
And I was talking to somebody, and the client sold a high ticket service. I mean, it was, probably like $3,000-4,000. And she goes, well, I'm not going to accept that, or I'm not going to accept credit cards. I'm like, how many people do you think just have $4,000 lying around? Like, but how many people do you think like, okay, it's only going to be $100 for the next 3 years? That's manageable. I can do that. And so you just have to be cognizant of that.
Mhm.
Use the resources. That is a great competitive advantage if you can offer something like that. Work with a finance company. Again, you have to do your own research and really read the reviews on these kind of companies and understand risk associated with it. But again, it's just all about being customer centric and understanding what your customer wants and how can you better serve them.
Okay, with so many factors affecting small business owners, how do you reasonably set goals and expectations for the upcoming year?
You have to plan. People hate when we say that. You always make me say that. You guys look at me, so I get to say, we have to plan. We're not talking about doing a 50-page strategic plan. That is not, there are times when that is important to do. You're going through succession or something like that. That would definitely be something maybe that you were thinking about. So sorry, this is the danger of being on a podcast and my phone ringing. It is about identifying the various factors that affect your business, right? Your operations. So having a finance goal, okay? You know where you want to be, you should be determining where you want to be and plan and list some action items to get there. So we want to increase our sales by 10%. That's a simple goal. I want to increase sales by 10%. How am I going to do that? I'm going to increase my marketing into this demographic because they, are ripe for the picking, right? We know that they are attracted, that we're going to do that, whatever that is. Marketing, we're going to be more in front of an appropriate audience. We've been paying a lot of attention on Facebook, but I think there's some business that can get through corporate. So we're going to be on LinkedIn. So whatever operations, we're going to be more lean. We're going to, put in a new process that's going to cut our operations cost by 5%. So it's identifying the various means of operating, of being in business, and then putting a goal or two. You need to be challenging, but realistic. Don't set yourself up. Okay,
I'm going to grow 100% this year.
Yeah.
Don't do that because you're just going to get frustrated and then bad things will happen. But be challenging, be realistic, but challenge yourself to get there. And you don't have to put 20 goals in place. It is, what is the key finance plan that I want? What am I looking strategically to do? I want to buy this piece of equipment. So I need to increase my sales to buy that because, but here's how I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to finance and I need to plan my projections out, what I'm going to have to make sure that I can support that purchase. So it's really looking at each one of those factors and then realistically considering how can I get there by year end 2024.
Realistic small steps along the way,
Yes.
measurable goals that you can definitely obtain or in some aspect.
Yeah, the small steps is so key, Sandy, because we get frustrated if it takes 8 months to get there, right?
That's human nature that
yeah,
I want it now. Let's make it
Yes.
happen.
Yeah, so if I see this here, but that's also going back and having the tools to be able to see if it's working.
Yeah.
So going back to what Shane said earlier, I mean, that's key. You need a bookkeeping tool of some sort, an accounting tool of some sort, so that you can see if there are things happening. You need to look at the analytics of your website. You need to look at the analytics that are on all the social, because each of those goals that you are putting in place, you're not going to know if it's working if you're not looking at the data that is being analyzed and is available to you.
All right, so let's wrap everything up. Give a couple final thoughts on small business end of year projecting to the new year.
So I would say one of the things is start to think a little bit outside the box in terms of that. So what does that mean? Diversification big time. I would look at, okay, here's my product and my solution. It serves this market. How can I grow it? Either, maybe we create another product, or maybe we take that product and apply it to a different market. So what does that look like? You look at Channel Lock. Channel Lock has a pair of pliers specifically for firefighters. They have a pair of pliers specifically for electricians, but it's still a plier set. It's probably a plier set at the end of the day. Or maybe we just look at a new market in general. I mean, maybe a new market is selling online in a different channel, or a new market is taking my product and selling overseas or selling to a different market. It's all about really trying to grow that way. I mean, there's only a few ways to grow a business. One, you raise prices. Two, you sell more to the people who already keep buying. Or three, you just keep selling more stuff. I mean, it's pretty simple. So really following those three principles, that's what you would need to do to grow your business.
I recommend it. I've done it for a few more years. We'll probably, or a few years already, probably a few more years we'll do this. You need to have some form of online presence and the ability for your customers to either purchase online or at least communicate with you to get the sales dialogue going.
I wish we had a red flashing light every time it's something like, please pay attention.
Just, do that, because, a lot of people, well, we can't sell online. Restaurants can't sell their product online. You can't reach into the computer and, we're not Jetsons yet, who knows if we'll ever get there, right? But they can give the ease of ordering the product, paying for the product, and then you either deliver it or delivery service, or they come and pick it up.
Right.
There is not one product or service that cannot have some form of sales process online. And if you're not making that available, you are always going to lose to your competitor, because that competitor, the competitive environment, there is somebody in that competitive environment that is doing it. So just consider it. I know that it is just one more thing added on to us, right? As an entrepreneur, how much can we do in a day? We say that every day. My team hears me say that every day. How much more can we do in a day? But the fact of the matter is, if you're not paying attention to what the consumers are doing, and consumer behavior is online. Even if they're not buying online, they're looking for things online. And if you're not one of the options, you're not going to be successful in the long run in having that customer and growing your business.
I would say, just to piggyback off that, is really, look, we're in 2024 now. There's no excuse to really not have an online presence, but a professional good looking presence. I mean, if your website looks like it was a class project for an 8th grader,
I was wondering what
we still have
you
problems,
choose.
because that's just the fact. And the fact of the matter is, look, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but not everybody can be. And unfortunately, that's the fact. Like, everybody wants to be an NBA star, but you get exposed very quickly when you go down to the YMCA and you can't hit free throws. But unfortunately, with being an entrepreneur, it just takes time to figure out, this isn't for me. But if you want to have the audacity to be your own boss, you're going to have to do things that make you uncomfortable, and you're going to have to learn these kind of things. So you need to take a strong look in the mirror and say, hey, I didn't know how to drive a car, but I know how to do it now. I don't know how to build a website or run social media, but there's resources at my fingertips for me to learn it. And if you don't want to learn it, fortunately, at the end of the day, you can't cry about the results you didn't get for the work you didn't put in. So,
yeah, love it. Maggie, Shane, it's always great having you on here. We could probably sit in here all day long and just chat.
Probably.
Yeah.
And we want to give a shout out to the small business owners as well. It's because of you that our businesses or in our communities are strong, and we wouldn't be here without you. So thanks everybody for listening. If you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, share, and reach out to us. Let us know more topics that you want to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining.